Now the Purvapakshi says, when we have Brahma Drishti in a Pratima means an idol, a statue. When we have a Brahma Drishti, when we look upon it, when we feel the presence of God in a statue, Brahma Drishtireva, Kevala, you are only seeing the presence of Brahman, you are only concluding that there is Brahman, but actually there is no Brahman. It is only your sight, not it is a fact. You are only imagining the presence of God in a statue. You are only imagining. All mobiles bunk. Don't give me no more. You are only imagining the presence of God in a statue, not that there is any God. This is what the opponent says. The objections to the opponent, the one who opposes Vedanta, the one who opposes Vedic culture, or the one who opposes Vedanta. Sometimes the Karma Mimamsaka also opposes Vedanta, Brahma Vastu, a reality called Brahma, he says, It is only your sight, it is your conclusion that there is Brahman in an object, etc., etc. Brahma drishtireva kevala, nasti Brahma iti chet, etena, by this, pratima brahmanadishu, Vishnuadi Deva Pitradi Drishtinam Tulyata. Similarly, when you see an idol as Vishnu, it is only a sight, not a fact. You are only seeing it, not it is there. You are imposing the presence of Brahman or Vishnu in an idol, it's not a fact. Similarly, when you look upon a Brahmana as a Devata, it's a sight, it's a drishti, not a fact. When you look upon a Brahmana, we always say Brahmana Devata. So even though you look upon a Brahmana as a Devata, it is your sight, not a fact. Not that he is a Devata, he is like you. He also takes the same rice from the same shop, from the same sack. That's what makes me very happy. The king sent his servant to buy rice, and the shopkeeper gives from the same sack. So the king and you are taking the same rice. क्या फर्क पड़ता है जी? क्या फर्क पड़ता है? Same air. But anyway, he says it is Brahma Drishti, Devata Drishti, Pitru Drishti, Natu, not that there is a Devata, not that there is Brahma. Now this particular thing is negated very beautifully, and it's a very terse thing. You have to be mentally prepared. It's a very, very revolutionary thought. You cannot impose something that is not there. Deliberately especially. You cannot impose something which you don't know. I must know already the snake in order to impose it on a rope. I must know water to see it in the sand. I cannot impose a non-existent thing. Therefore, even to impose if I have to impose Brahman on a statue, then there should be Brahman. Understand, if limitation is known, the unlimitedness is also an imprint in the mind. Did you hear it? When the limitation is known, the unlimitedness also is, there is an imprint in your mind. Because you can always visualize that which has no limitation is unlimited. I know the limitation, and minus the limitation is the unlimited. It is not beyond our comprehension. Unlimitedness is not beyond understandability. If limitation is known, the unlimitedness can be understood. Yeah. If I know time and I can visualize free from time, that is timeless. Free from form, that is formless. Free from thought, that is free from thought. Thought free. Therefore, if I can know the limitation, I can also know the unlimited. If I can know the bondage, I can figure out what is freedom. The very negation of that bondage is freedom. Free from it is the free. Therefore, existence of Brahman is not only there. Brahman is not only there. In fact, its imprint is there in human mind. The imprint of the unlimited is there in human mind. You know what I mean, the imprint? You have an insight into it. That which is not limited is the unlimited. That which is not limited is unlimited. That which is not in time is the timeless. It is within comprehensibility. That is an imprint. You have. Man listens more to what he has read here and there rather than his own imprints, I am telling you. His own intuitions. He doesn't listen to his own intuition. I am using a new word, intuition. I mean only insights. Man does live with insights. He has insights about himself. He has insights about the truth. Definitely. That is why whenever he wants to be peaceful, he closes his eyes. He closes his memories and just be peaceful. He is an insight that peace is within. Whenever he wants to be peaceful, he doesn't look here and there. And he is tired, he says. He closes his eyes. He closes his memories and sits quiet. Are you able to follow? That means what? He has the insight that peace is within. But then he doesn't follow the insight. He doesn't listen to his insight. He's not serious about his insights. And afterwards again he hears say, no, दुनिया को जो बोलती है, फिर दुनिया को सुनने लगता है. Instead of listening to his own insight, then he starts listening to his neighbors. And his neighbor says, अंदर कुछ नहीं, बाहर ही है, जो कुछ है, चलो हम लोग जा रहे हैं गुड़गांव क्लब के लिए, आएंगे, सागर जाएंगे, रोटी डोसा खा के आएंगे, चलो. अंदर कुछ नहीं है, जो कुछ है बाहर है. So your neighbor comes up with a lecture. Then you don't listen to him. In fact, all that man loves to be, he already is. Is the fundamental vision of Vedanta. All that man loves to become or loves to be, all that he loves to be, he already is. But he doesn't know. And because he doesn't know, he searches it out. Therefore, anyway, in order to impose Brahman on something, Brahman should be there. Otherwise, how do you impose? You know, a person who worships God, this is a very serious matter, and I have thought about it without any bias. I've thought about it. In a temple, when somebody worships God in a form, when he worships God in a form, he sees the limitation of the form all right. He sees the limitation of the form all right. But you ask him, Bhaiya, the God that you worship in the form, is he limitation? No, he is to Ananta. Anantaya Namaha, Anandaya Namaha, is he Madhavaya Namaha, Trivikramaya Namaha. And it goes on saying in so many words, Namaha, Namaha. How does he make out the meaning of Ananta? Don't think, when he uses the word Ananta, it is a black in his mind. No. When he uses the word Ananta, he seems to know what Ananta is. And Ananta, without unwittingly, there is an insight that is, these limitations, the one that doesn't have is Ananta. He is able to figure out. The free from all these limitations, the free from all these imperfections is perfect. God is free from all these visible imperfections, free from all these visible limitations, free from all these limited sizes, etc., free from this time. Why not? There is an imprint. That's why he enjoys it. Minus that imprint, he can't enjoy. Even Devata, I am telling you, can be figured out. There is an imprint about Devata. I have more imperfections. Devata has less imperfections. He is not all perfect, but he has less imperfections. Good enough. Indra is Swaha, etc. says, he is a much more perfect jiva than me. I mean, if he becomes a Vedanti also, if he becomes very particular about the nature of Devata, then also he can say he is more perfect than me. He is more perfect than me. There is an imprint. A poor man has never seen a rich man. A poor man, let us say, has never seen a rich man. If you tell him a rich man, can't he figure out? जो poor नहीं है वही, that is called insight. This is called, Shankaracharya calls it as, Shankaracharya calls it as imprint. Imprint. He uses the word, just a minute. You can in English it is imprint, sanskar. It will come. If I say sixth element, you have no imprint. What is sixth element? Not there. Man's horn. But the unlimited, that which is free from limited, I can put together. It's not limited. And Sushupti is a Anubhava, which reinforces that sanskara unwittingly. And therefore, the Purvapakshi is dismissed by saying, we impose Brahma on a statue, but Brahman is not non-existent. That is the topic. Because whatever you impose, it must be there. Why? The Shruti itself says, Na Rigadishu Prithivyadi Drishti Darshanat, Rigadishu, Rigveda, etc. Prithivyadi Drishti Darshanat. The Veda prescribes the darshanam of Prithvi in the Vedas. Look upon the Vedas as the vast elements. That means impose the creation on the Vedas. The entire creation is the topic of Veda. So when we have the Jagat Drishti, Prithvi Drishti in Veda, we are not having the Drishti of the non-existent. We are having the Drishti of the Prithvi that is there. Maybe existent and that is a different thing, but it is there. Thus the Veda does not prescribe the drishti of something, the upasana of something that is non-existent. Veda prescribes the upasana of what is. I hope you are able to follow. Veda prescribes the meditation upon the upasana upon what is. Brahma upasana means Brahman is. Devata upasana is Devata is. Yes. If I can be a jiva with some perfections and some imperfections, that's not a lot of imperfections. Can't. It's an understatement. Some imperfection, a lot of imperfection. There can be a jiva with less imperfections. Gradation is possible. That's an imprint. The very idea of the possibility, the idea of its being there is not even possible, it's definite. Gradation is not a matter of inference, is a fact. Gradation is a fact, not a matter of inference. Not that may or may not. Endless gradation. If there are insects and there are better jivas, there are better jivas, there are better pranis, there are better pranis, like this, among the living beings there is gradation. There are amoebas and there are multicellular organisms, there are insects and there are reptiles and there are birds and they like this grow, and then human beings, and then like this in creation there can be better. Why not? Nor does creation mean only South Asia. Does creation mean only South Asia? And some of the Delhi people think creation means only Greater Kailash. वो लोग कभी कहीं बाहर गया ही नहीं है. Hey Rama, this is called Kupastha Manduka, like a frog in the well. This is what is God's creation? This well. Hey, in this God's creation, most dumb. In fact, when you look at the unending nature of the creation, you have to get vairagya. You become a thinker. The moment you look at the expanse of this universe, my God, then you have time only to look at it, to wonder at it. What must be the mystery behind it? The very sight of the universe should make you a reflective person. But if it doesn't, it's a Maya. It's Maya. The very sight of the vastness of the universe. Ashcharyavat pashyati kaschidenam, Bhagavan says. In fact, Bhagavan, I am sure Bhagavan Krishna must have felt. I wish there were language which would convey it much greater than that word Ashcharya. Even the word Ashcharya falls short of the power to convey the truth as what is it. When a person listens to Vedanta, he listens to it as a wonder. A wonder that excels all other wonders. Swamiji, is it a greater wonder than a tree in America through which a bus goes? What is there? In Himalayas, the bus goes through the mountain. Oh, yeah. Wonderment means every phenomenon inside creation is commonplace, but creation is a wonder. Individual phenomena inside the universe are commonplace. But the very presence of the universe, the sight of the universe, that I stand seeing a universe is a wonder. What is this? What is the fundamental relation between this universe and me? What is this me fundamentally? It's a wonder. And therefore, Veda prescribes the imposition, meaning perceiving, feeling the universe in the Vedas. Now, is it feeling the presence of the universe that is not there? Similarly, in Rigadi Upasana, if Prithvi is there, in Brahma Upasana also Brahma is there. In Devata Upasana, Devata is there. If Jiva is there, if a Manusya is there, Devata also is there. Kya? Aliens are not a great impossibility. Aliens means what? They are not aliens. They are apne log hain. Why? Because they are all in the God's creation. Whoever is in the one who exists outside God's creation is alien. But they are all within God's creation. Supposing there are living beings on Mars or somewhere beyond, they are all within God's creation. They can't exist beyond the limits of the universe. We are in God's creation, they are in God's creation, we are all the same. We are all cousins, ji. But two distant cousins. A few light years distant cousins. Few light years distant cousins. But cousins, we are. There is nobody who is alien. Sab apne hi log hain. They are all within God's creation. Some are white, some are black, but they are all the same God's creation. They are all rooted in Bhagavan, God. Thus, the point that I am making is, In Brahmopasana is prescribed because there is Brahma. Devata Upasana is prescribed because there is Devata. Rigadi Upasana is described because there is Prithvi. Rigadishu Prithivya Drishti Darshanat. Veda prescribes the darshanam of Prithvi, seeing, meditating upon the universe inside the Vedas. Therefore, Vidyamana Prithivyadi Vastu Drishtinameva. I have to cover G, I have to move ahead. Vidyamana Prithivyadi Vastu Drishtinam. Seeing what is present. Vidyamana means present. Prithivyadi means Prithvi, etc. Vastu Drishtinam, with the sight of the details like the Prithvi, etc. is prescribed in Vedas. Because Rigadi Vishaye, in Rigadi objects, there is a Rig Veda. Oh, that is, this Rig Veda is Prithvi, this Yajur Veda is Apaha, this Sama Veda is Vayuhu, Agni, etc. Like this, supposing you impose all the elements in the Rigadi, the elements that are imposed are not non-existent, they are very much there. Rigadi Vishaye Kshepa Darshanat. Kshepa means Aropa. We impose the universe in Vedas. To use another language, we worship the Vedas as the creation. Because they talk about creation. Rigadi Vishaye Kshepa Darshanat Tasmat. Therefore, Tat Samanyat, therefore it is being similar to it. Namadishu in name, form, etc. Brahma Drishtinam, supposing you feel, you see Brahma, God, the truth, in a statue and worship, or in a form and worship. Riga Tat Samanyat Namadishu Brahmadi Drishtinam Vidyamana Brahmadi Vishayatva Siddhi. Therefore, when we see God in a statue, please understand, statue is there, Brahman also is there, but not yet understood by me, but we have the imprint of it. बहुत बड़ी बात है, there is an imprint of it. That imprint means it is not something that can be clinched as non-existent. Man's hand can be clinched as non-existent, but you can't clinch the unlimited as non-existent. What cannot be clinched as non-existent has the imprint in your mind as existent. Sixth element can be clinched as non-existent. Man's heart, any object can be clinched as non-existent if it is not there. But the unlimited cannot be clinched as non-existent. Why? Because unlimited is, I cannot conclude that the unlimited is not there through my sense perception, because the unlimited is not an object, a sense object. Therefore, I can't conclude the absence of the unlimited. Why? Because if there is a limited, definitely there has to be unlimited. I am going to tell a very, very sweeping statement. The limitation depends upon the unlimited. The unlimited doesn't depend upon the limited, but the limited depends upon the unlimited. The infinity doesn't depend upon 2, 3, 4, 5. But 2, 3, 4, 5, these individual numbers depend upon infinity. Wave depends upon water. But water, the identity of being water doesn't depend upon wave. Those who can follow. Understand? Brahman cannot be, truth cannot be clinched as non-existent. The unlimited cannot be clinched as non-existent. The timeless cannot be clinched as non-existent, because I can think of the absence of time. Why I can think of the absence of time? Because I do experience the absence of time. We all experience absence of time in sleep. We all experience the absence of the form in sleep. We all experience the freedom from form, freedom from limitation, freedom from time, freedom from all the imperfections. That's called imprint. Man has the imprint in him about Brahman. Therefore, when you worship God in a form, it is not like worshipping man's horn. ऐसा नहीं. See, Bhagwan, if there is a form, then there is also the formless, the unlimited. Because it is only in contrast to the formless I am able to perceive the form. It's all imprints. They're all imprints which are a part of a developed reasoning thinking or reasoned thinking. A human mind, it is inbuilt in human mind, the imprint of the truth. The very experience leaves an imprint anyway. The very deep sleep state, is it not something, is it not carried in the waking state? That I had sleep? That I was peaceful in deep sleep, is it not carried in the waking state? That's an imprint. There is an imprint, there is anubhava. Anubhava leaves an imprint. And therefore, annadishu brahmadi drishtinam vidyamana brahmadi vishayatva siddhi. Etena, with this, Ashikara continues. Pratima brahmanadishu, seeing Brahman in a statue, or even seeing a good man or a Brahmana as a Devata. Every good human being is a Devata. That is why they always say in Pahad, ye to Devata jaise aadmi hai. It's a perfect description. Aadmi hai, lekin Devata hai. Devata bhi nahi hai. Aadmi bhi nahi hai. Keval. He is not purely Devata or purely Aadmi, but he is a Devata jaise aadmi hai. Devata jaise aadmi hai. देवता इवा इवा यहाँ पर इव का मतलब उपमान है. उपमान है. देवता जैसे आदमी है. देवता. Therefore, you worship a Brahmana as a Devata, you worship a statue as Brahman. उसमें कोई ब्लाइंडनेस नहीं है, कोई ब्लाइंड बिलीव नहीं है, कोई सुपरस्टिशन नहीं है. इट इज ऑल नॉनसेंस. दोज हू से इट इज ऑल सुपरस्टिशन. नो, बिकॉज व्हेन यू एनालाइज थिंग्स, then something else comes to the surface. When you analyze things, and analysis means we have to look at ourselves fundamentally. The subject must be taken into account. The experiencer must be, the root must be taken into account. When you analyze the tree, you can't ignore the root and analyze the branches. When you analyze the tree, you must take into account the root. When you analyze the universe, you must take into account the seer of it, the root of it. And when you ignore the root and analyze the tree, when you analyze the tree by way of ignoring the root, all that you get is desire for its fruits. not any knowledge. You go on looking at the world without looking at yourself, what does it create? Ji? Only desires. Yes. Only desires. The more you could travel the world without taking into account the glorious nature of the subject, the more you are exposed to the world, the more you get desires. Jo aadmi kabhi, the one who is a very simple living man, take him to Khan market one day. अगर किसी को खराब करना है, take him round Khan market. अपने पैसा खर्च करके उनको ले जाना, इधर उधर अच्छा कुछ पकौड़ी वगैरह खिला देना और कॉफी वगैरह, नाइस प्लेसेस, नाइस शॉप्स. उसके बाद क्या होगा उनका हालत भगवान जाने. Yeah. When you travel the world without wisdom, you will only develop more and more desires. You will only become more and more cunning, I am telling you. The more you travel without scripture, the more you learn the ways of the world. The more you learn the ways of the world, the ways of enjoying, the ways of earning, the ways of accumulating, and the ways of elbowing others out. Yes. Therefore, don't analyze the tree without taking into account the root. Etena pratima brahmanadishu vishnuadi deva pitradi buddhinam cha. And therefore, the idea of Brahma is true, the idea of Vishnu is true, Vishnu also is true. Vishnu means the all-pervasive is true. Devata is true, nothing is false, meaning they are all within creation. When the whole creation is an appearance, then they are also really Devatas also are appearance, that's a different matter. But within the appearance they are real. But Brahman is not one of the details inside the appearance, but Brahman is the source. Anyway, these are all great details. The more you listen, the more you understand the beauty of this scripture I am telling you. Pratima brahmanadis vishnuadi deva pitradi buddhinam cha satya vastu vishayatva siddhi. They are also there already. Satya, they are all real. Therefore, we don't see in a pratima a God that is not there. We worship God in a statue, God that is there. We don't worship God that is not there. We are only worshipping God that is there. And if you analyze, I say, human beings, the very common sense carries in it the imprint that if there is something limited, there has to be the unlimited. Otherwise, the very beginning and end of the unlimited. How do you appreciate the limitation without the unlimited? The limited means that which has a beginning and an end. Without the unlimited, how can you perceive the limitation, the beginning and end of the limited? And the one who sees the beginning and end of the limited should be unlimited. Yes. Like, you say only sound is there. I say sound has a beginning and an end. If there is a sound, there is a silence, because the sound is heard in silence. The sound begins in silence, registered in silence, and disappears, resolves in silence. Therefore, when you worship silence in the sound, let us say, is it non-existent? In fact, sound is made of silence. It is, they say roti is made of atta. Sound is made of silence because it is a creation inside silence. That is a branch, that is an error. Sound is dreamt in silence. You can't dream silence, but you can dream a sound in silence. Because silence is not a thought. Silence is independent of thought. Thought can be dreamt. Silence cannot be dreamt. And silence is. And that is the truth. What exists independent of thought is the truth. You can't dream silence, you can dream a sound. And therefore, here comes, you can underline this statement. Mukhya apekshatvacha gaunatvasya. This is a very beautiful thing. All figurative expressions must have their co-realities. Correlated realities. Suppose I say, मेरा बेटा चांद है. Is a figurative expression. It's not literal. If your beta is literally chand, you have problems. Then you should be up above there. He can't be in your arms. And you should slowly increase in 15 days. And slowly decrease. And a day comes, one day you can't see any of your sun. It becomes Amavasya. Therefore, your sun is not literally the moon, but figuratively. This is called gauna. But you can never have a figurative expression unless there is a reality. Unless there is a real moon, you can't give that moon as a figurative thing, as a figure of speech, as a simile for your sun. Everything that can be given as a simile has to be there. A non-existent thing cannot be used as a simile place. Oh, he is like a fire. That means there is a real fire. Oh, he is Devata. Devata. Devata is not an object of your senses, but imprint is there. You can understand. If I am there as a human being, there can be Devata also, why not? If I am there, there would be Devata also. Thus, every figurative expression exists it does involve a reality, literal, mukhya. Mukhya means, oh, he is like a lion. He is a lion. Is it a literal expression or figurative expression? Figurative expression. You cannot say he is a lion unless there is a real lion. Unless there is a real lion. He is fire, you can't say unless there is a real fire. Similarly, you can't look at the statue and say, this is Bhagavan, unless there is Bhagavan. There is Bhagavan. But where is Bhagavan is not a part of creation, he is the source of the creation. But the imprint is there in the common sense. The imprint is there in the Shastra. We don't go only by that imprint. But while studying the Shastra, we can refer to those imprints. We make use of the imprints that we have of the truth while studying Shastra. The Shastra does refer to those imprints. Why? Because the Shastra is talking about what is existent. What is non-existent is not the topic. The appearance is there and the observer also is there. As an individual I am there and it is. There can be gradation. Thus, mukhya apekshatvacha gaunatvasya, gauna expression, gaunatvam presupposes mukhyatvam. Mukhya can exist without gauna, but gauna can't exist without mukhya. Are you able to follow? Understand this way of understanding Shastra. There can be a real line without your being a line, being like a line. There can be a real line without somebody being like a lion, but somebody cannot be called like a lion under. That means what? The figurative line can't exist without literal line, whereas the literal line can exist without figurative line. And therefore, God as one without a second is the literal lion, is the literal Bhagavan. And as I visualize him in a statue and worship him, he is a gauna, meaning it is aropita. It is a sight, it is a Brahma drishti. Unless there is a Brahma vastu, I can't have Brahma drishti. Unless there is a Devata, I can't have Devata drishti. I say you can't even imagine, oh, these are all imagined by you, somebody says. I say you can't even imagine what is non-existent. Imagine sixth element. Can you imagine sixth element? I tell you, even if you try to imagine the sixth element, you have to imagine it in terms of the five elements. Hey Rama, did you hear that? Yes or no? Gradation is not imagination, it's a fact. So if I can be a Devata, if there are individuals less than me, there can be individuals above me. Why not? If there are people less rich than me, there could be people more rich than me. It's an imprint. It's an imprint in the mind. It is an imprint in the mind. Similarly, the next Panchagni Adishu Cha Agnitva Dehe Gaunatvat Mukhya Agnyadi Sadbhava Sadbhavavat Namadishu Brahmatvasya Gaunatvat Mukhya Brahma Sadbhava Upapattihi. You know, we have in Chandogya Shruti, we have an upasana called Panchagni Vidya. Panchagni Vidya means the kind of, the advent of a living being. Heavens are one fire. The invisible law of karma facilitates rains. The rains fall on the earth. The earth is another fire. Crops are, the same law of karma facilitates the growth of crops. Food, the advent of food, and the advent of man eating it, and the advent of his having a desire to procreate, and he creates another child in a woman. He puts his vitality in a woman. Like this, heaven is one fire, rains are second fire, man is the third fire, woman is the fourth fire, and the child that is born is the fifth fire. There are five fires. Why do you call them fires? Because there is a real fire. These are all what? Figurative fires. These 5 details are called Agnis because there is a real Agni, Mukhya Agni. Whereas these 5 Agnis are what? Gauna Agnis. Gauna Agni means what? They are called Agnis. They are looked upon as Agnis. You look upon them as Agnis because there is a real Agni. Unless there is a real Agni, you will have no idea of Agni. You can't look upon the 5 as Agnis. Are you able to follow? I am able to visualize a Vishnu, a statue as a Bhagavan because everybody carries an imprint of what the truth is. That imprint is nothing but free from all imperfections, free from all limitations, etc. Now I am going to give a clinching point for which you have no argument, against which you have no argument. You see, when a person tries to reform, what is the definition of reforming? I have anger and I can be free from it. Therefore, let me try to be free from it. Man does discover, man does think in terms of freedom from anger. I am greedy, but it is possible to become free from greed. Let me try. All reform is to become free from imperfections. All growth is in terms of becoming free from imperfections. That means freedom from imperfections he can think of. If he can think of freedom from a given imperfections, he can also think of freedom from all imperfections. Him he can call Bhagavan. What is that? Imprint carries. Imprint man carries. He feels bound, but he wants to be free. Why do you seek freedom? If there is no imprint, he is able to think in terms of freedom. Why? He has the imprint of freedom. Because when you feel bondage, you can understand freedom from it. When you are unhappy, you can think in terms of freedom from it. Think freedom from it. Therefore, Brahma Drishti in a statue doesn't mean there is no Brahma. Because there is Brahma, one can think of Brahman in a statue. You cannot think of Brahman in a statue unless there is Brahman. Brahman means the perfect. Brahman is the perfect. The perfect means free from all imperfections. Are you able to follow? Therefore, ajñatvadehe gaunatvat mukhya ajñadi sadbhavavat namadisha brahmatvasya gaunatvat mukhya brahma sadbhavapattihi. It's possible, it's tenable to say that if a man can visualize God's presence in a statue, definitely there is God. Okay, ji, another few minutes. In Veda, there is a Karma Kanda and Vedanta. The details of Karma Kanda are real within creation, whereas the truth that is unfolded in Vedanta is real as the source of the creation. Veda doesn't talk about man's wants. Veda talks about what is. Veda doesn't imagine the non-existent things. Veda talks about what is. What is inside the creation, what is behind the creation. What is within the creation and what is behind the creation. the salient details. And what it talks about is governed by human need. A jiva is in need of comfortable survival, and he is in need of understanding the truth. Is it not? Is there any other need? Do you have any other need? बताए, हो सकेंगे तो मदद करेंगे. What need can you have? Comfortable survival and understanding the truth where liberation. Again, meaning happiness. Therefore, because man is in need of dharma, artha, kama and moksha, Veda also talks about only dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Dharma, artha, kama, mokshas are not put in human mind because they are already in human mind. Veda talks about them. बहुत बड़ी बात है ये. आप लोग तो कहते नहीं बड़ी बात हम. मैं अपने आप को स्तुति करना पड़ता है. मैं अपने आप को स्तुति नहीं कर रहा हूं, मैं इसको स्तुति कर रहा हूं. वेद what? Veda doesn't put four goals in human mind. Veda doesn't brainwash, it doesn't put in human mind you have seek dharma, seek artha, seek kama. No. It says already man thinks in terms of four. He wants material security. He wants to meet his physical and mental needs. And he doesn't want others to be unfair to him. That is called dharma. Moksha, he wants inner peace, called moksha. Therefore, these four goals, are they universal goals or only Indian goals? Universal goals, not Indian goals. It is not that if you go to America, they don't want to. They also have only four goals. Material securities, satisfying a few of their physical, physiological, mental needs, khana pina, etc. They want fairness around, dharma. They want to have inner peace. Or do they have a fifth goal? Do they have a fifth goal? Can you have a fifth goal in life? Yes, Swamiji. What is the fifth goal? Tell me. Can you tell me? I want an extra wife. That is kama. That is kama. That is not the fifth, that is a very beautiful thing. It is not possible to have a fifth goal. Therefore, what does Veda talk? Does it imagine four goals and put them in your mind? No. Veda only talks about four goals looking at human need. Human beings are only in need of four goals. In that manner, human beings are in need of dharma. Therefore, Karma Kanda talks only about dharma. Human beings are in need of, they want to be happy now and forever, comfortable. Even though they say they don't believe, a lot of people don't believe in rebirth. Can they clinch it as non-existent? Can they clinch rebirth as non-existent? If you can't clinch it as non-existent, then sit down and listen. You have freedom over what you can clinch as not there. Rebirth is not something that you can clinch. Shastram tells very beautifully. If there is this life, the same life can repeat itself. If you can wake up, if you can go to sleep again and again, you wake up again and again you fall asleep, again and again you wake up. Similarly, what is life? It is waking up. And what is death? To sleep, wake up, sleep. What is there? As simple as that. Avyaktadini bhutani vyakta madhyani bharata avyaktani dhananyeva tatra ka paradevana. Bhagavan says what? You just what is life? You become manifest. And what is death? You become unmanifest. And again you become manifest. Tatra ka paradevana. Iske बारे में रोना धोना क्यों? Bhagavan says, my name, Bhagavan says, Tatra ka paradevana. Paradevana means rona dhona. The exact Hindi translation of paradevana is rona dhona. Say, rona dhona kya? Why are you doing? Enjoy living. Live, enjoy living and enjoy learning, enjoy understanding the truth. And the day you die, you are not going to look back and cry, oh, I was alive and now I am. No, you will not. You will not miss. That is something, I tell you, it's a great thing. When you go to sleep, you are not going to miss waking. Kya farak padta hai? You fall asleep right in the class and you are dreaming. This Ramana Kendra doesn't exist. Poor Ramana Kendra doesn't exist. Yes. Thus Veda talks about rebirth that is there, not rebirth. It imagines and talks about rebirth. It doesn't talk about the rebirth that is not there. It talks about rebirth that is there. It talks about the law of karma that is there. It talks about the adrishtam that is there. It talks about continuity that is there. It talks about the truth that is there. Veda doesn't talk about what is there. Because you can't talk about what is not there. You can only talk about. Please talk about something that is not there. It will be very interesting. Please say something that is not there. Can you write a poem about something that is not there? Totally not there. You can't talk about what is not. Because thought pertains to what is. Thought cannot pertain to what is not. Number one, words refer to what is. Words can't pertain to not. It's a very big thing in Vichara. Scholars get enlightened with this one sentence. The scholars which remained mere scholars without wisdom will become wise. That thoughts can't pertain to something that is not there. Nor the words can pertain to something that's not there. Nor Veda, Pramanam doesn't pertain to something that is not there. Pramanam pertains to what? Is. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Hari Om. Ramachandra